many types of villains in anime, driven by different motives and goals. Sometimes you can even relate to those villains. Here, we are not looking at the strongest anime villains, but the most evil. All for One is the symbol of evil, the complete opposite of All Might, the symbol of good. That already implies he has committed some serious crimes to achieve that status. His presence alone was enough to paralyze the young heroes in absolute fear. He doesn't care about world domination. He doesn't care about power. All he wants is to make All Might despair. For that purpose alone, he spent years specifically raising the child of All Might's mentor and made him the leader of the League of Villains, all for the sake of momentary satisfaction of seeing All Might's expression of despair. Perfect example of a sick sense of humor. Anime can often show the bright side of a teen getting superpowers and not what could really happen. This is the excelling point of this anime, because it shows us the reality of what a teen would and could do when overwhelmed with near omnipotent power. The ability to kill anyone instantly, ability to heal, extreme durability, and many other superior abilities compared to the average human. This teen is so drowned in his own power that killing is just an entertainment for him to make him feel that fleeting moment of being alive. He doesn't have any targets or any goals, which makes him a horrifying villain. His after-school hobby is simply to pick a random house and kill whoever is in it. There are many excellent anime villains in FMA Brotherhood who are all far more powerful than Tucker, but I still chose him as the worst villain from FMA Brotherhood. He had very little screen time compared to other characters, and yet he managed to leave behind a bigger impression. He was so obsessed with being a state alchemist, he was willing to sacrifice his own family to achieve this goal. He appears kind and loving on the surface, but we realize his true nature when we discover that his latest chimera is a merge of his own daughter and pet dog. Turns out he had performed similar experiments using his wife in the past. Worst of all, he had no regret or remorse, even when the remnants of his daughter in this chimera attempts to protect him from Edward. Some people can go to extremes to pursue and satisfy their curiosity. If this curiosity overall leads to a greater good, then it is often justified. However, this also results in the birth of some of the cruelest anime villains that justify their actions in the name of science. This guy is a prime example, using orphans as guinea pigs for various forms of experimentation. Even though the purpose of his experiments is to find ways to overcome the curse, it's almost as if he has lost all sense of emotions in the process of his research. He had no guilt towards destroying the lives of those children, reducing them to just slime. The real cruelty is the continued experimentation on Miti, testing the limits of her immortality with various killing strategies.
My friends, it has often been said that I like war. My friends, I like war.
Major is first of all leading a Nazi army, which already sets up an evil atmosphere. However, his speech was the highlight here. Not only does he describe in detail the many forms of deaths and wars he enjoys, but he goes on to explain the methods of killing that gives him the greatest pleasure. What distinguishes him from the other villains on this list is that the chaos he desires is not limited to just the enemies, but includes his own army and himself. He explains that he wants massive amounts of death on both sides, and he himself enjoys being trampled on. His enthusiasm for chaos manages to rile up his entire army so that the greatest war in history can be created.
ごめんな。
One Piece has probably the highest number of anime villains in all of anime, simply because it's so long. Out of them all, this man is to be remembered. He is not necessarily the strongest, but definitely evil. He may have had a traumatic childhood, which probably contributed to his personality defects. However, it still isn't enough to justify his twisted personality. First of all, he kills his own brother mercilessly. But his worst characteristics is his enjoyment in manipulating others and destroying their lives. He made a king kill his own citizens, frames him, then causes the king's entire lineage to suffer the consequence for over 20 years. This is possibly the longest torture that any anime villain has inflicted on others.
Dani! 紹介するよ。
Dio is almost like a protagonist with the amount of plot armor he has. He is one of the few villains who get stronger every season, acquiring new skills and powers over time. In his early human days, he was mainly just a douche wanting to take out his pent-up anger on others who seemed well off. However, he is completely emotionless to the extent of burning a dog alive who does absolutely no harm to him. Killing people, I can understand. But killing a dog after kneeing it in the face makes no sense. To make things worse, it turns out that he wasn't evil to his full extent until he was told that he was born evil. Until that point, he had to make justifications for his evil actions. But once he realized that he was born evil, he is now released from these constraints and can be fully evil.
Shall we put him to a little test?
This anime isn't exactly a psychological thriller, and Frieza doesn't seem to be that cruel on the surface, relative to others on this list. However, if you look deeper into his actions, you start to discover how malicious he truly is. He has single-handedly taken millions of lives, highest kill count on this list. Biggest slave driver in the universe, he has millions under his control working under pure fear of death. He watched a planet explode along with millions of its inhabitants, as if he was watching fireworks. Killing people is like doing fireworks for him. He forced a boy belonging to a race he annihilated to work for him for years. He loves to manipulate. He kills Broly's father only to provoke a Super Saiyan transformation. He was able to induce fear even in a god of destruction. Griffith, the most surprising villain that left many viewers speechless. He sacrificed his own men to obtain kinsmanship with the God Hand as their fifth member, Femto. In this process, he has lost all humanity and became a truly demonic being. To showcase his evilness, he wasn't satisfied with just the sacrifices of his own men. He went after Guts' girlfriend. Raped her right in front of him while he was held down by other demons purely for his own amusement and petty sense of revenge.
You cared for me and you restored me to life. So I feel as though you're like a father to me.
Like a father?
Johan is the weakest villain on this list, but one of the most horrifying. He loves to manipulate, kill, and destroy everything in his path. Most of the time you have no idea what is going on in his head. He manipulates others into becoming serial killers, and even though these serial killers are not scared of killing, they still fear his name. He is insensitive to deaths he has caused and leaves behind chaos, and yet his existence is still not known to many. One of the most difficult decisions for a person to make is suicide, and yet he can convince people to do just that. The portrayal of how a completely sane-looking human could achieve this level of cruelty makes him, arguably, one of the best and cruelest villains in existence.
All that I did was grant you your wish, Doctor.
Let me know who is the scariest villain for you. If you enjoyed that, please do leave a like and subscribe to help this channel reach its next milestone.